Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, Bachelor Nation News Fans. Former Bachelorette star and current Bachelor in Paradise Relations Coordinator Hannah Brown, who was already on hand for a brutal dumping this season, has dropped a major surprise on fans. She's already legally married to Adam Woolard. Brown, who starred as the franchise's season 15 lead and went on to win season 28 of Dancing with the Stars, has been planning a French wedding to her fiancé for 2 years. Fans hoping for any peeks at the upcoming nuptials, which would be the first time they see her as a wife, are sure to be disappointed. As it turns out, the familiar face making a return to Bachelor Nation this year is already legally Woolard's wife. According to TMZ, Brown, 30, and Woolard legally became husband and wife in the United States in June. Tires, Season 2 official Netflix trailer. Court records show the pair were legally wed on June 21 in Tennessee. It is not yet clear if the two had a formal ceremony and celebration at the time, or if it was just a matter of signing and filing the paperwork. The news comes as Brown shared on Instagram Monday that she was headed to France for her wedding week, with a big celebration planned for her and Woolard's guests. "About to board the flight that takes us to the start of forever," she captioned a video clip of them waiting at the gate with champagne. "Wedding week is here, and my heart has never felt so sure." It's unclear who from Bachelor Nation may have scored an invite to the wedding, though she has seemingly remained close with her runner-up, Tyler Cameron, over the years, as well as Wells Adams, who tends bar on Bachelor in Paradise. It's also unclear if she has invited her former Dancing with the Stars partner, Alan Burston, to the wedding either. Brown first appeared on Colton Underwood's season of The Bachelor, making it to the top 7 before she was cut. She was then announced as the Bachelorette's season 15 lead. In the end, she accepted a proposal from Jed Wyatt, but revealed on her After the Final Rose special that she had called off the engagement after learning he had only joined the show in an attempt to further his music career and actually had a girlfriend back home. She began dating Woolard in 2021, and the pair announced their engagement in August 2023. Star Hannah Brown legally married before French wedding, the untold story. She won our hearts on The Bachelorette, she danced her way to glory on Dancing with the Stars, and she's faced storms of criticism, heartbreak, and redemption. But now, Hannah Brown has done something no one expected. Before the glamorous French wedding everyone was waiting for, she slipped quietly into a courthouse, signed her name, and legally became a married woman. Why would a woman who has lived so much of her life on camera choose to keep this moment hidden? What did it mean for her, her groom, and their future together? Today, we're going to peel back the curtain on Hannah Brown's surprising path to marriage. And trust me, you'll want to stay with me until the very end, because the truth about why she made this choice is far more inspiring than you can imagine. Hannah Brown's journey through fame. To understand this moment, we need to go back to the beginning. Hannah Brown was never supposed to be a star. She was a small-town Alabama girl with a Southern twang, a big smile, and a dream. She competed in beauty pageants, battled through personal doubts, and eventually stepped into America's living rooms on The Bachelor. She didn't win that season. In fact, she was sent home with tears in her eyes. But sometimes, the doors that close are the ones that lead us to the greatest opportunities. Soon after, she was chosen as the Bachelorette. Overnight, she went from heartbreak to having dozens of men competing for her love. But as we all remember, her journey was anything but easy. Betrayal, public scrutiny, broken engagement, headlines that painted her as naive one day, bold the next. Through it all, Hannah learned to survive in the storm. And it's that resilience, the ability to keep moving forward, that would one day shape how she approached her marriage. A love story away from the spotlight. Fast forward past the flashing cameras, the red carpets, and the headlines, Hannah found love not in front of millions of viewers, but in the quiet corners of ordinary life. Her relationship with Adam Woolard wasn't born from a TV show contract or a rose ceremony. It was rooted in something deeper: shared values, faith, and the desire to live a grounded life away from the spectacle. For many fans, this came as a shock. Hannah, who had lived so much of her romance on screen, was finally building something privately. And that's the first clue as to why she might choose a courthouse marriage before a French wedding. Because sometimes the moments that matter most aren't for the cameras. They're for the heart. The hidden meaning of a courthouse wedding. But let's talk about that courthouse. Why do it? Why sign those papers months before the ceremony in France? Some couples marry quietly for legal reasons, immigration, finances, or timing. But for Hannah and Adam, there's another layer. This was about control. For a woman who had once lost control of her narrative on national television, stepping into that courthouse was a way to say, this is our story. No producers, no editing, no strangers deciding how it ends. It was a powerful act of reclaiming ownership over her love life. She wasn't just Hannah, the reality star, anymore. She was Hannah, the woman, choosing her future on her own terms. The French wedding fantasy. Now, don't get me wrong, the French wedding was everything fans dreamed it would be. A fairy tale setting, elegant gowns, and romance straight out of a movie. Pictures were posted, stories were told, and fans swooned over the romance of it all. But here's the secret. By the time Hannah walked down that aisle in France, she was already a wife. That ceremony, as stunning as it was, wasn't about legality. It was about celebration. It was about giving her family and friends the dream day they deserved. Think about that for a moment. The woman who was once criticized for chasing fairy tales had already grounded her marriage in reality before stepping into the fantasy. Isn't that remarkable? It flips the entire script on what we thought we knew about her. Lessons in privacy and control. And this is where her story touches us all. Whether we're 25, 45, or 65, we live in a world where everyone wants a piece of our lives. Social media, gossip, even family expectations. Sometimes it feels like the most private parts of our hearts are up for debate. Hannah's courthouse wedding reminds us that some choices are worth keeping quiet, at least for a while. Not everything needs to be explained, justified, or photographed. Some commitments are sacred because they belong only to the people making them. And for many of us watching her journey, that's a lesson we wish we had learned earlier. That privacy is not secrecy, it's protection. A surprising symbol of growth. Think about where Hannah started. A young woman looking for love on television. A woman whose heart was shattered in front of millions. A woman who admitted she made mistakes, but refused to let those mistakes define her. Now picture her standing in that courthouse, pen in hand, quietly choosing for Adam. That's not just a legal act. That's a symbol of growth. She went from searching for validation from the world to finding contentment in a private, personal decision. And here's the real surprise. Sometimes the biggest fairy tales aren't the ones that play out in castles or French villas. They're the ones that begin in simple places, like a courthouse, where two people look each other in the eye and say, "Yes, I choose you." What this means for fans. Fans were stunned when the news came out. Many asked, why didn't she tell us sooner? But maybe the better question is, why did we think we were owed every detail? Hannah gave us years of vulnerability, of tears and triumphs, of breakups and reconciliations. This time, she chose to hold something back, and by doing so, she gave herself the gift of peace. For her fans, especially those of us who've lived long enough to know that life isn't always a fairy tale, it was a reminder that love isn't about spectacle, it's about substance. And sometimes the strongest marriages start in the quietest ways. The bigger picture. So here's the bigger picture. Hannah Brown's courthouse wedding wasn't just about paperwork. It was about rewriting her story. It was about moving from heartbreak to healing, from public drama to private joy. For all of us watching, it's a lesson in second chances. It's proof that your past doesn't have to dictate your future, that you can live through very public mistakes and still create a deeply private happiness. And maybe that's why this story resonates so deeply, especially with those of us who've seen decades of love, loss, and resilience, because at its heart, it's not just Hannah's story, it's ours too. So yes, Hannah Brown was legally married before her French wedding. At first, it sounded like a twist, maybe even a secret. But when we look closer, it was something far greater. It was an act of courage, an act of growth, and above all, an act of love. Her journey reminds us that real love doesn't always begin in front of a camera or with a grand audience applauding. Sometimes it begins in silence, with a signature on paper, with a whispered vow, with a choice to protect what truly matters. And maybe the next time we find ourselves longing for fairy tales, we'll remember Hannah Brown and how she proved that the greatest fairy tale is the one we choose to write for ourselves. Thank you for joining me today. If Hannah's story inspired you as much as it inspired me, don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts below, because sometimes the most surprising stories are the ones that teach us how to live. As the Southern belle with a bold heart. She stumbled, she cried, she fought back. She left us all wondering if love would ever work out for her. But now Hannah Brown, the woman once called the most dramatic bachelorette of all time, has written a new chapter that no one saw coming. Before the lavish French wedding she shared with the world, Hannah secretly walked into a courthouse, signed her name, and legally became a wife. Why would a woman whose entire love story once unfolded in front of millions choose to keep this moment hidden? What does this say about her, about love, about life itself? By the time we reach the end of this video, you'll see why her courthouse wedding may be the most powerful decision she's ever made, and it just might change how you think about love, second chances, and what really matters in the end. But first, let's go back to where this journey truly began. Hannah Brown wasn't supposed to be a household name. She was just a young woman from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, smiling through beauty pageants, chasing dreams bigger than her hometown, and learning the hard lessons of heartbreak. She first appeared on The Bachelor as just another hopeful contestant. She wasn't polished like some of the others. She wasn't calculating. She was raw, sometimes awkward, often vulnerable. And when she was sent home, many thought her story was over. But life has a way of surprising us. She was chosen as the Bachelorette. Suddenly, America couldn't look away. This was her moment. This was her chance. Yet, instead of a fairy tale ending, she faced betrayal on national television, a broken engagement, pain broadcast to millions. And here's the first cliffhanger in her story. Would Hannah Brown always be the woman remembered for heartbreak? Or would she find a way to rise from the ashes and prove everyone wrong? Years passed. Hannah danced her way into our hearts again on Dancing with the Stars again. She won, proving she wasn't just reality TV fluff. She was strong, determined, and resilient. But when it came to love, something shifted. She no longer wanted the cameras capturing every kiss, every doubt, every whispered word. Enter Adam Woolard, not a fellow contestant, not a Hollywood star, just a man who saw Hannah for Hannah. Their love story didn't begin with roses and limo rides. It began quietly, without contracts or cameras. And that's what makes it extraordinary. After living a love life controlled by producers, ratings, and editing rooms, Hannah chose something real, something private. But this leaves us asking, if her love story started in private, why did she later share a French wedding with the entire world? The answer is layered, and the courthouse is the key. News broke. Hannah and Adam had legally married in a quiet courthouse ceremony before the French wedding. No photographers, no elaborate decor, no media coverage, just two people signing a document, becoming husband and wife in the eyes of the law. Why? Some say it was for practical reasons, legal logistics, travel, finances. But dig deeper, and you'll see something more profound. This courthouse moment wasn't about glamour, it was about grounding. For a woman who had once lost control of her love life to the world's judgment, this was Hannah saying, "This belongs to us. This is real. This is ours and ours alone." It wasn't secrecy, it was sovereignty. And here's the cliffhanger. How does a courthouse ceremony connect to one of the most romantic weddings we've seen splashed across magazines and Instagram feeds? Let's find out. When pictures surfaced of Hannah and Adam's French wedding, fans gasped. A castle-like venue, rolling hills, a gown that shimmered like sunlight on water. It was a dream. But here's the truth. It wasn't the wedding that made them husband and wife. That had already happened in a courthouse weeks earlier. The French ceremony was theater, a celebration, a chance for family, friends, and fans to share in the beauty. But when Hannah walked down that aisle in France, she wasn't walking towards commitment. She was walking towards celebration. The real commitment had already been made in a quiet building away from the spotlight. And that's the twist most people miss. The French wedding wasn't about her. It was about everyone else. It was her way of giving the world a storybook ending, while knowing deep down her real ending had already begun. This raises a question that resonates with all of us. How much of our lives do we share, and how much do we keep for ourselves? In Hannah's case, she spent years being picked apart by strangers, every choice analyzed, every mistake magnified. By choosing a courthouse marriage first, she drew a line in the sand. It was her declaration that some sacred things should remain untouched by public opinion. For us, whether we're parents, grandparents, or just people trying to navigate a noisy world, it's a reminder: not every joy needs to be posted, not every vow needs to be shared. Sometimes the most powerful commitments are the ones whispered in private. But the question remains, did Hannah worry that keeping this a secret would disappoint her fans? Or was she finally at peace with not needing their approval? Let's step back. Remember Hannah at the beginning of her journey? She was searching for validation, from producers, from men competing for her attention, from an audience that cheered and criticized in equal measure. But the courthouse marriage shows us a woman transformed. No longer desperate for approval, she made a choice that only she and Adam needed to understand. It's the clearest symbol of her growth. From heartbreak to healing, from seeking validation to creating her own definition of love. And maybe that's what makes her story so universal. Haven't we all, at some point, wished we could rewrite the ending to an old chapter of our lives? Haven't we all longed for a moment of quiet certainty in a world full of noise? So what do we take away from Hannah Brown's courthouse wedding? First, fairy tales are fine, but reality matters more. Second, privacy isn't secrecy, it's protection. And third, true love isn't about the applause. It's about the choice you make when no one is watching. For those of us in our 60s, we know this better than anyone. We've lived through decades of change. We've seen that the biggest moments in life aren't always the most glamorous. They're the ones where love is proven in small, steady ways. And Hannah's decision reminds us, it's never too late to reclaim your story, never too late to write a new ending. So yes, Hannah Brown was legally married before her French wedding. At first, it felt like a plot twist, but now it feels like something much bigger. It was her quiet rebellion, her way of saying, I am no longer a character in your story. I am the author of mine. And for us watching, it's a reminder that our most important vows, our deepest joys, our strongest commitments may not be the ones we announce to the world. They're the ones we choose quietly, deliberately, in the stillness of life. So the next time you hear about a fairy tale wedding, remember Hannah Brown. Remember that behind the glitter, the true fairy tale might already have been written, silently, simply, beautifully. Because in the end, the greatest love stories aren't the ones told the loudest. They're the ones lived the truest. Thank you for spending this time with me. If Hannah's journey has inspired you to think differently about love, commitment, and second chances, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, because the next story we share may surprise you even more.